Oh. Hi, Quasar.
Okay, good night. I also really liked how you would meet people in like very weird ways where they just like pop up all of a sudden and then they're just like kind of somewhat part of your life. Like I remember one day I walked into the garden and you were just like in a hole, like trying to get this giant boulder out of this hole, but you were like, it was literally a hole like the height of you. Do you remember this?
Oh, when I was a visitor.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You just like popped up and it's like, okay, this dude's just in a hole, like throwing a boulder out. And now you're in my living room and interviewing me like years and years later, you know? And it's just like kind of wacky. Hello, YouTubers. My name is Reishi and I live in Asheville.
And I'm Tara and I live in Asheville as well.
How was your family life growing up?
I was raised by my dad, and I lived with my brother.
And you were in
New York, Westchester, New York.
Okay, and where did you grow up? And
I grew up in Jersey, and family life wasn't too great. My parents were divorced before I was born. And my siblings kind of kept moving in and out of our house. I moved in and out of our house a lot. So it was a little rocky, not very much family dynamic.
how did you find out about Eastwind, and what led you to move to Eastwind?
I moved to Eastwind because my sister was living there. So my story on that's not too interesting.
I went there because I was like really into off-grid living, so I was just looking it up on the internet and stuff, and then it was like a related thing online, and I was like, holy shit, I did not know that commune still existed.
And what were your first impressions?
I think it was honestly like pretty much like a really strong like culture shock, but it was really interesting and cool, and I was like, wow, I did not know people could live like this. And yeah, I don't know. I just immediately was like, this is so much better than how people were living, at least around where I was. And yeah, I don't know. There was like a lot of different things going on that I like wanted to learn about, like gardens and animals and stuff like that.
You moved there in September, and did you stay through that winter?
Mm-hmm. I mean, since I was 18 and kind of just like immediately went into this whole different thing of like community life, I think it was kind of like a rocky roller coaster of like learning new things and discovering more things about myself, and then also maybe getting like a little wild at some points, and yeah, just kind of like trying to figure everything out. But I think I think overall it was a good winter.
What kind of work did you get into?
I started out doing like pretty simple things, like I would do laundry shifts, and I guess a lot of the work I did was childcare too. I started doing childcare a lot, and then slowly I started working in the office more. But yeah, it was good. I worked in the garden a little bit. I should have worked there more. It's my one regret. But I herded goats. I guess my first year I was herding goats a lot. I mean, when I think about it, it's like a lot of social relationships too.
Yeah,
unless,
I think it was. Yeah, that's what I kind of remember. More so like building up relationships that are still going on today.
Yeah.
Best buds. Yeah, I think it was primarily the social relations, I think, which is pretty important because I mean there was like 110 people or something, I think, at that point living there, right?
Yeah, there were like so many people on the waiting list. There was like 20 people living there on the waiting list. It's pretty crazy.
So Yeah, I think it was a lot of like trying to connect with people, and I mean, I primarily, I think, worked doing gardening, but I tried to like dip my toes into a lot of different things. I think also for the like social relations, to be able to like connect with other people, because it seems like people mostly kind of like have a thing that they like doing and kind of stick to that, so it kind of like helps you connect to more people.
What drew you to manage membership? That's a big membership.
Well, me and Faye did it together. I think that there was just like an opening and we were like, we could do it, because we felt like maybe in the past some people who managed membership weren't really doing it great. So we decided to do it. It was my least favorite job that I did at Eastwind, for sure. But it was insightful, I would say. I definitely say my main thing I did there was childcare, for sure. That was like what I did like almost every single day. Hanging out with the kids was awesome because they were all really smart and cute, and I think the child branch program is kind of messed up, honestly, but just because I think parents get so many hours that I feel like because I did so much childcare stuff, doing childcare wasn't really, what's the word? Like, you know, people would be like, oh, they're doing childcare. It's like, it seemed like people put that below. But I think a lot of that stems from the fact that parents get so many hours just because they have kids, you know? But I really liked it.
I got really into CompToil at one point. I was kind of trying to like innovate certain things regarding the CompToil. Yeah, I think my biggest achievement in the CompToil field was putting up the chalk paint in the stalls, so that people can communicate cross poops.
In the Southern Fillmore.
Mm-hmm. That was fun. Yeah, I really liked CompToil because you were kind of like the mailman a little bit, where you get to like do a little tour around community and
everyone
wave
sees
to
you
everybody.
And they're like, thanks for picking up my poop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You were a baker, right? You started. You started baking bread at Eastwind.
Yeah, I had never made bread before, and then I think a bread shift opened up, and yeah, I pretty much tried out everything. So I tried out the bread thing, and then I realized that I really liked it. It's still very like therapeutic for me. It's kind of just you and the dough, working it out, and yeah, it's fun. I still carry on the spirit of my Eastwind bread making today, where I just started getting back into making bread, and it's like I can't just hold on to the loaves for myself. Every time I make them, I bring them to my friends and give them away, and I think that's something that's just been like ingrained in me from living at Eastwind. That's where I started making the bread, which is cool, and I like that. And I think that's kind of what I was talking about before, just like the community spirit stays with you and doesn't leave.
And the bread's yummy.
What was your favorite food-related thing to do at Eastwind, or skill that you learned?
I used to make yogurt a lot, which I liked. Who knew it was so simple? Who knew? I do yogurt, and there was a minute I was making granola, which was really fun, just to have like a huge freaking thing of granola gunk. That was fun.
See, I think granola making was not fun. I made a lot of granola for a pretty long time, but then you get those certain people that are like, oh, this is too mushy, it should be crunchier, and then you get people that are like, this is too crunchy, it should be mushier, you should put less nut butter in it, you should put more nut butter in it, don't put raisins in it, put everything on the side, do whatever, and it's like...
Just eat the fucking granola, or don't if you don't like it.
Mostly Virgil. Virgil, if you're watching.
No one ever said anything to me.
A lot of the things that you do publicly, like make a meal, or make granola or whatever work you're doing, it's all very public, and you are open to that feedback. So, you know, how did you find that you were very susceptible to public opinion? Do you get to a point where it's like, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm going to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's also something that I learned at Eastwind too, of just like having some thick skin. And you kind of, there are so many people constantly giving you opinions on things, and you kind of just have to realize that, like, I just need to do what I'm going to do. It's like, you know, if I'm making the granola, I just need to make it how I'm going to make it. And if people eat it, they eat it. And if they don't, they don't. And I think I was pretty good at kind of blocking that out. I mean, I'm open to criticism, but not like that, you know? I think actually, yeah, that one time that Virgil was like, oh, blah, 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 this is wrong. I definitely lost it at him, and I was like, well, you know, then screw it, make your own granola. Like, I'm not making granola anymore, and I think I stopped making granola just because it was like after so many times of him doing that. But but it's also like, I don't care, you know, I don't have to do this. Like,
I bet he missed your granola.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think when I first moved there, I signed up to help with like some cook shifts and stuff. And I stopped doing that because it was just too much pressure. And, like, I don't know, I would just be super, anxious about, and, like, look at people when they're eating and be like, I don't like it. So I didn't really cook. I'd be, like, a helper and chop stuff and do stuff like that, but it's a lot of pressure to cook, like, a whole community meal. So kudos to all of the people who did that all the time, every week. Because it's stressful.
It is very stressful.
Yeah, it's like, oh god.
I had a few dinner cook shifts, and I think primarily when I was cooking with Faye, and we were both vegan, we would make vegan meals every week, and people did not like that at all. But I don't think you need meat and dairy every night, you know, and yeah, maybe slightly controversial, but I think, that's one of the things. It's like, well, you're kind of open to do whatever you want, you know? Those, like, rules aren't set, kind of, where it's like, we have a dinner shift, like, we can cook whatever, you know? And it's like, I think in that, like, communal thing, you kind of have to be open to other people making some decisions that you're not necessarily into, and then you're still free to do whatever you want, you know? You can choose to be like, well, I'm just gonna cook up my own roast if I want to.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the nut house.
Ooh.
Working in nut butters. How were the working conditions? How'd you like it?
I like nut butters. I'm pretty sure I was the fastest jar filler in the West. They could probably run the machines a little bit faster. That's kind of where I was at. I'm like, I'm slowing down because of the machine.
But I did Sandals for a while. So I think, like, in the middle, I kind of stopped doing nut butters. I think I was doing a cleaning shift, though. But then towards the end, I stopped doing Sandals. Sandals is fun. I love breathing in burnt plastic. It's great.
Let's talk about, say hi to Dawn. Let's talk about Sandals a little bit.
Dawn's great. Sandals is fun. I think it just smells really bad. But yeah, it was fun learning how to do it. It takes a really long time to learn.
Talk a little bit about being barefoot. Were you also big on barefoot?
I was barefoot too.
I remember you had all sorts of strategies.
You used to put your cigarettes out on your callus.
Yeah, my feet were pretty calloused. Strategies?
I just remember one time you said you were barefoot for like 2 weeks, and then you realized putting on sandals and like alternating going super hard allowed it to heal faster, and then you like got to a point where you could run on the gravel.
It definitely takes some time. I feel like the main path is definitely your greatest enemy in the beginning. I'm not really a fan of the gravel. You can kind of walk on the side of the path, and it seems like there's almost a path there from people not walking on the path. And then, you kind of just gotta trek through it,
Yep.
and then you get a bunch of calluses. You still have to watch out for the honey locust, though, no matter what. Definitely got a couple of those stuck in my foot.
Honey locusts in your foot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And watch out for snakes, too. I almost stepped on a copperhead once. Holding a baby. And I was like, oh my god. That could have been bad.
Why did you drop membership?
Oh.
Yeah, pretty much, I just wanted to travel. And see what was out there. And I guess I met him too, so. And he was already traveling. And he hated Eastman.
Like, I think my biggest thing with Eastwind was the, like, social thing and kind of, like, the mentality of community. And I feel like that's my biggest takeaway, where I still kind of, like, hold those values today with, like, how I interact with people and just, like, kind of like that community spirit of, like, you know, the egalitarianism, like, sharing and, like, helping out people and, like, working together to, like, care for each other.
See, like, I can't say that too, though.
And if you don't want to, you know...
I'm trying to think of something, because I was going to be, like, just, like, my friends, and then also, like, you also just learn a lot about people living so closely with them, which is good and also can be bad, but you learn a lot. And just how to, like, navigate difficult relationships.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for me, like, the learning to accept people regardless of their flaws, where I feel like when you're not living with someone, you see someone's flaws and that can, like, turn you off from them, and you can, like, end that relationship right there. But when you're living in community, you kind of have to continue working with this person for the most part. And then just kind of, like, the general vibe of community seems to be, like, you know, everybody understands that this person has this flaw. And everybody knows it. But it doesn't matter because they're still that person. And everybody still cares for them. And it's kind of just like a, you know, people are people. And you just got to, like, make do with that and accept them for who they are.
And figure out how to live with each other in a somewhat good way or communicative way.
We were both pretty young, so I think a lot of our social interaction was kind of more the, like, drinking and being wild and stuff. Yeah, definitely a lot of staying up late and drinking and doing some stupid stuff.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a culture there about that. And also it's like, there's a lot of young people and you put them somewhere and they're probably going to go a little wild, you know. It's bound to happen. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. It's pretty much like Eastman College, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely a little bit of that vibe.
Yeah.
Did you run up against authority figures saying, oh, you really need to slow down? Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think one time we were having a party up in Hammocks, and then we had to go get something, and I thought it was a good idea to take the van that was right there. And then, yeah, definitely the next day, like, and when a bunch of other people were like, yeah, you definitely cannot do that. And I think there was a lot of those along the way until, yeah, I kind of had to check myself in a way. Yeah, I think there was definitely one point where I was pretty drunk and I think I tackled somebody and it wasn't, yeah, I realized I was like, oh, okay, like, this is, like, not chill, you know? I think I got carried away in the, like, rowdy, yeah, the rowdiness, and I think it takes a second to kind of tone it down.
I don't think I ever got in trouble. I was pretty rowdy, but I never drove a van drunk.
I mean, it was fine.
That was on the land, though.
It was on the land,
yeah.
And it was okay, but it was still a bad idea. And,
yeah.
You know.
What did you like best about living there?
I feel like I got a very strong sense of being free in a way where I feel like I can't really describe it accurately, but it was just like you can kind of do whatever you wanted to, and not just in a sense of like, you know, I can just do whatever. It was like just on a different level. Like, I mean, I think one summer I wore these like pink pajama capris, and that was like literally it for a couple months straight. Like, I never had to put a shirt on or shoes. And
oh yeah, I used to be barefoot all the time.
Yeah, just like in that kind of like sense. And then even just down to like, you know, in all my rooms, every time I switched rooms, I pretty much only had a milk crate full of some stuff. And that was like really freeing in a way where I would just like move my milk crate to a different room. And it wasn't like a whole moving process.
And it's really nice to not have to like worry about money. And also you don't really have a boss. And I think that was a big thing I really liked, was like, you know, you get to choose your work and what you're interested in doing. And then also, like, you don't have someone being your boss and just that whole power dynamic, you know? So it's really freeing in that sense. And also, I mean, there's just so many things I really liked about Eastwind. Like, just the layout, the land was beautiful. The creek was awesome. Like, just eating meals with, like, 70 people every day was, like, a special experience.
I think another thing I really liked, too, was I feel like a lot of free time was spent just sitting around in a common space.
Yeah, you
and
just
talking
around,
with people and like cracking jokes, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, we have to find something to do. It was like everybody's just content.
You're just existing
and fine
in space.
with hanging out and interacting in a chill way. That I feel like I do miss that a lot, where I feel like there is this, like, we have to find something to do. Like, when we hang out, we'll play, like, board games and other stuff. And, I mean, we'll sit around and talk, but it's not the same where at Eastwind I feel like I've probably spent, like, days just sitting on the couch talking to people.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, over all the time, you know.
It's like living in a house with a bunch of people, but it's not a house.
It's very organic there, where if you sit in a spot, you're going to see people coming and going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I developed a strategy of, I mean, other people did it, but I would do it in Sunnyside where you have to hold it down. So, like, if you walk through Sunnyside and you're like, I can be open to hanging out with someone, let me go walk through Sunnyside and see if anybody's there, but nobody's there, then you're just going to keep walking through. So I like to sit there by myself so that I'm holding it down to, like, draw people in, kind of like creating, like, a little blockage, you know, that then draws more people in.
What do you appreciate most living out here now?
For me, I did always feel living at Eastwind like I kind of was in a bubble and very isolated from other people and things going on. And kind of almost like slightly trapped in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
So I think now I like being, I don't know, more up in things. I own my own car. I can go anywhere whenever I want. I don't have to like sign out a vehicle and figure out how to pay for it with my DF. Like I have money, I have a car, I can go do whatever I want. Yeah, I think just not feeling stuck. Is a good feeling.
Yeah, I think just living in the middle of Bumblefuck, Missouri was a little hard because
I don't even say that on YouTube, right?
You can't say Bumblefuck?
You can say fuck.
So you can curse on YouTube?
I thought you couldn't. Sorry.
You just have to put an explicit tag.
Right. This is not a family-friendly channel.
Yeah, and it was kind of like you were in the bubble of like what Eastwind is, and then you were also, when you left, in the bubble of the Midwest. You know? So I guess this is the first time I've lived near like a moderately sized city that has culture that I like. And I enjoy that. Having my own space is nice. But also, I mean, it's nice, but there's also things that are nice about not having really your own space, like Eastwind. So it's kind of like...
What is your opinion of income sharing egalitarianism now? 1 hour of labor being 1 hour of labor, and everyone getting...
I like it. I think it can be abused by people. But I definitely really liked living somewhere where everyone was just like, whatever you did was equal, and we all had the same things. And it definitely just takes away that whole, like, stress of money kind of thing. And, like, pressure or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it takes away the stress of money, which is very...
stressful.
Anxiety producing. But then at the same time, you never really like have a chance to come up in that way. Like you can't have any savings or anything. I mean, I guess you could. You did other stuff, or if you didn't spend your $150 a month.
I saved up $500 once for my DF. It was crazy.
I wasn't good at saving it at all, but I feel like it is like Eastwind is extremely different, and it has its pros and cons, like everything does. And I think the money thing is extremely polarized for me, where it's like you don't get much money, but you don't have to spend money on anything else that you don't have to spend money on. That didn't make any sense. But you only have to spend money on your vices.
Yeah, you have everything. Like, you don't need money there. You have everything provided for you. And, like, also, like, the food is amazing.
Do you have any advice to young people who are
going to Eastwind?
Who are either seeking out community or are going to be going to Eastwind?
I would say do it for sure. Try it out. Worst thing that happens is you don't like it and you get back on a bus and go home. But if you do like it, you can live a totally different lifestyle. And really, regardless what happens, I think, you're going to have a lot of really good experiences and make some awesome, potentially lifelong friends. And yeah, I mean, you could just learn all kinds of different things. And overall, I wouldn't change anything about me going to Eastwind or, I don't know where I'd be in life right now if I didn't. Could be, I would imagine it would be worse. It could be a lot better. I don't know. I could be like a doctor or something right now. Probably not. Yeah, I'd say go for it, It's a good time.
Yeah, I'd say to check it out. And there's also a lot of different communities, like so many. So I'm sure there's one for everyone. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just don't get too rowdy is what I would say.
Get rowdy.
Know your limit.
You'll
have
never
fun,
regret the rowdiness.
Have fun, but don't get too